Hey, what's going on, Rolls? Yeah, it's just me tonight. Yeah, Pedro wasn't feeling it tonight still. We've all kind of just been a little. This month has been hard for all of us. Work, and then I've had some home life issues and travel for my mom and health issues and whatever else. So we're gonna talk. Just gonna hang tonight. I don't. We'll talk a little bit about news, that sort of thing, but not anything too deep. Um, but yeah, Macanudo Gold is. I am smoking tonight. Well, I mean, one of maybe I'll smoke two. It depends on how long it goes. I don't know. I have no time limit for the stream tonight. Actually, I'm gonna smoke a knuckle duster. See if I can get it to focus. Oh, I can. I know how to get it to focus. I just tap right there. There we go. There we go. So we've got a punch knuckle duster, Habano. Uh, and I will be pairing it with some Speyburn uh, whiskey, scotch. It is a scotch. It is a scotch. So, oh man, let's tune this a little. Here, let's give it a little bit of a pop. No, yep, yeah, that's good. That's good. How you been, Rolls? No, you can't go wrong with anything Punch makes. So it's gonna be fantastic. Even before I roll the credits, I'll get it lit here. Toast it a little bit. Man, it has been chaotic. It's been a little hectic. Uh, it's been really hectic actually since I got back from PAX. I think the universe likes to correct itself, right? And like you can't have too much fun because if you do, if you can't have too much fun because if you do, it likes to come back at you and go, no, too much of a good thing, right? So, uh, yeah, we'll talk. I mean, it's calmer. Um, my mother had surgery, so she made it out okay, and she's doing better, recovering. But honestly, it's a long road. We don't know the repercussions of the surgery. We still don't know all of the answers. Uh, she was diagnosed with a form of cancer, so we're just kind of dealing one step at a time. She's getting better. I had to travel. I was out there last weekend, uh, the weekend before last, I guess, right? And then came back, worked a couple days. Then we had a 3-day weekend. We've also been dealing with my landlord, where we're at right here, this house. Um, we when I moved from Houston down to Dallas, the entire plan was always to kind of rent for a whoop. We've got a hornet. Okay. Um, we were gonna rent for a year or so, and then after that, we were going to uh, there it goes. We were gonna buy, but then COVID happened, right? And with COVID, uh, with all of that happening, house prices went up, everything went up. So because of that, the housing market went a little crazy, and so everything in the area that we rented, which is the area that we wanted to buy in, kind of went up in price, and because of that, we couldn't where we were renting and trying to kind of start our life here in the Dallas Fort Worth area. We got priced out, and all the houses went up. Everyone was doing stupid crap like you know with the housing market and the new builds, everything going, construction costing and housing. Just I mean, houses that were in my area were max like 300,000, and then COVID happened and all of this, and we've now, the housing market just being, people are buying, these houses are going for 450 now, 400, 425,000. And so it makes it so that what you thought was possible is not possible, and it priced us out completely. And my landlord, uh, it seemed to us like he wanted to like re-rent this place. And also, we were at a price point pre-COVID rent wise, so I think he wanted to raise the rent. So he didn't give us an offer for a 1 year extension, only a 6 month, which doesn't work for us because that's the middle of the school year, and it just doesn't work with home life, work life, all that kind of stuff. We can't move in the 6 months down the road. That would be around Christmas. Our lease is up in end of July, so 1st of August would be the first day on a new lease. So because of that, um, we talked to my in-laws and all that kind of stuff, and just went through the process of like, hey, maybe it's just time to just buy. We're just gonna have to buy. Like I can't. Our rent went up to over 2 grand, and paying over 2 grand for rent seems ridiculous at this point. Like I just, it makes no sense. I don't like paying 2 grand for anything that it's not mine, right? Like this isn't my house. It's a nice house. So anywho, we went down. We were looking for houses. We're talking to a lender. We're kind of working on kind of build the credit score up with a credit boost, just because of the new program where you can add all your renter history on it, so we can kind of both get pretty high up there to kind of have the best kind of silver bullet before we send in the pre-approval loan. So it's just a process, and everyone is dragging their feet, and so we're just kind of like in a holding pattern. We thought we would have some news today. It did not happen today. So we are kind of moving on, just waiting. That said, though, just tonight, this afternoon, like an hour and a half ago or so, our housing company, the company that we rent through, sent an email and goes, "Hey, by the way, the homeowner is probably looking to put the house on the market," which we kind of suspected. He goes, "Would you be interested in buying?" And now that we've been looking at houses, this house is not for us. Like we need more space than what this house has, and uh, judging that the area is worth a lot, he's going to want more than what it's really worth. This house needs work. There needs some foundation. There's some cracks in the wall already that we're noticing. Um, it needs, it just, there's certain things in the house that it needs. And honestly, it's just not for us. So we're probably going to say no, but we definitely sent an email back and said, hey, we are interested in at least to see what he's offering. Like, what is the price that he's wanting for this house? Because there's no way he can ask for more than like 320,000. This house needs at least $40,000, $50,000 worth of work. Um, yeah, Rose, this is exactly it. Like, I don't, I don't understand how it works, right? Like, I'm not an investor, dude. I'm not a money guy. I don't credit and all that kind of crap. Just doesn't interest me. That's like total bro guy talk thing. That like adulting that I don't like to do. It just drives me crazy. I don't like doing it. The whole interest rate crap and all of that. I mean, I know of it. I know enough to kind of get by, but I'm not an expert on any of it. And I just don't understand how banks are giving loans for houses that aren't worth that much, right? Like, unless the person is putting like, so 100, market for 120, which means it was probably valued around 120, right? You usually ask around what it's worth, maybe a little more depending on the area. And then if you're coming in at, you know, $65,000 more over market, where are you getting that money from? The bank can't be fronting that money, right? Because if the bank is giving $60,000 on top of the value, what happens if they default on the loan? Who's going to pay that? They can't turn around and sell the apartment or the condo for that price because they're not going to get the 185,000. They're going to get 140 maybe max. So who pays the rest of that? It makes no sense to me. I don't get where that comes on. Right. So okay, 20% of 100K is still not 185,000. So where where's the rest of that come from? Like, I don't get it. Also, this is our first home, so we would go through first time home buyer, the whole FHA program and all that kind of stuff. So that's what we're going through. So I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm like I said, we're talking to a lender right now. We're talking to, we're going through, we're just taking the steps, and no one wants to talk to anyone else unless there's certain things, unless there's money on the table, right? Unless there's actually some sort of like loan ready to go. No one wants to talk to you, right? So, yeah. Uh, so that's where we're at. My only guess is that they have to put up their down payment, but shit, it took me years to get right. Like, I don't understand. Like, does someone really have $60,000 extra in their pocket to put down on a house? Also, like, isn't that a waste? Like, because the house isn't worth that much. Eventually, the market will crash enough that the value of these houses won't show that. So, how do you get that money back? Right? Like, how does one come up with $60,000 in equity back from a loan on top of a house that's valued 120,000, right? I don't get it. But again, I'm no expert. I don't know how any of this works. I'm sure there's some scams, some loophole, some whatever that people are doing. Because I know investors do it, right? Property investors do it all the time, but they have liquid cash. They flip 2-3 houses, and they've got, they can throw 20 grand on top of something because they know the bank knows they're good for it because they've done so many like movements. I was pre-approved in 2019. I still kick myself for now. Yeah, man, dude. I know. Trust me. Like, there's lots of things. I mean, I if I had known that things were going to be the way that they are now, I would have told myself, 10 years ago, be like, hey, man, you gotta get your shit together, get your credit together, get all that stuff together, and just buy a house so that you can enjoy yourself. But that's not where we were at the time. My wife was still not done with her PhD 10 years ago, right? So there was no way that I could have done it. I'm on a single income. Where? How? I mean, it just wasn't going to work. So here we are, 2023. My wife finally has her PhD. She's got a good job. I got a good job. We're both finally got an income. Our life finally started only in 2019. And that's when the world went to shit. So like, it's totally like this like anger that I have, because it's one of those moments where like you finally make it only for the goalpost to get moved up even further. So it's annoying, right? Like you think you finally got your foot down. You're kind of like making it. You're making enough money to kind of feed yourself and have a little fun, a little spending cash. You're not living on paycheck to paycheck. Then all of a sudden, boom, the economy gets in the way that it is again, and all of a sudden I'm spending $200 in groceries, and it's still not enough to make it for the week for 4 people. Like, I don't understand how everything went up. Gas is up. My gas bill, like my actual like propane gas bill, is like double. It was I think it was like $180, and the only thing I have on my gas is my boiler. Like, I don't even have a gas range. I have an electric range. Electricity's 300 plus a month. It just makes no sense. Makes no sense. So I don't know where, and I don't understand how anybody working like a 9-to-5 entry level job is making it nowadays. They're not, right? We've got to keep boosting the minimum wage up just to kind of match living costs, because no one that works at McDonald's can afford an apartment by themselves anymore. Rent is, even in the cheapest like slummy apartment in Houston that I know of, it's still like $900 a month, right? And if you're making $10.50 an hour, how do you pay for gas, like gas in your car to get to work? How do you pay for electricity, your rent, basic internet, which is almost a requirement these days? You can't function without some sort of internet. Don't even think about having like Netflix or anything like that, because you're not going to be able to afford it. And also food, it just doesn't work. I don't get it. So, but this seems to be like my constant anger lately, and I hate it, because all I want to talk about is video games and geek stuff and D&D and crap. So, yeah, but adulting sucks. I like a cold house in the summer. The first apartment, when we're talking about a welcome to the real world, when I first, oh yeah, right. Like you get your first apartment, you're like, I'm gonna turn up the turn down the cool. Yeah, I get to have it colder than my parents allowed. That sort of stuff. And man, buddy, that first electric bill, that first time you go and spend money at the grocery store and you buy the basics, like I remember when I had my first apartment and I spent $100 on groceries and I was like, yeah, $100, baby, I'm gonna make it. And then like the food was gone, right? Like not much longer, and I was left with very little like provisions. And I was like, wait a minute, I have to spend $100 like every other week. Like what's going on here? Like, and that was back in 2003, maybe when I moved out. Like I moved out on my own. Um, so yeah, it was a long time ago. It was like 20 years ago. Oh man, totally. Like it was, uh, my basics were like Tostino's pizzas, right? You would buy like the frozen pizzas, but I also like to cook, so I made sure I bought like I knew how to make like rice, and I knew how to hit up like the Mexican meat markets and stuff. So I would buy like I would freeze meat, and I would like make tacos and stuff. Just something simple that I knew how to make growing up. It's nothing too bad. So I could cook. So I definitely was a better cook than most of my friends that had their own apartment. A lot of them were like they eat out every day. And back then, right, eating out was expensive. Now I'm realizing, the wife and me talked about this just recently. We are like, how is it that eating out every day is cheaper than groceries? Like I can hit up certain meal deals, or like I could go to like Denny's, right, and do like kids eat free and spend like $30 between my wife and me and free meals for the kids. But if I want to go and like go to the store and buy enough stuff to make like pancakes for the house, right? I gotta buy buttermilk. I gotta buy milk and buttermilk and butter. And oh, we're out of eggs. I should buy eggs too. And just like, oh, we're out of this. All of a sudden, you're like $40 in groceries just to make one meal. Not saying that all the eggs would go in one day, but I'm just saying like just to make the one thing that you wanted to make at the house, you're like $40 deep, and you realize, wait a minute, I could have just gone to Denny's and probably had leftovers for a second meal for under that. Like it makes no sense. Um, went to McDonald's. Yeah, no, right. Yeah, McDonald's is there was a whole. I just recently saw a whole like TikTok reel thing or whatever. Someone talking about like how McDonald's is no longer the food like it used to be, the struggle meal. Like you go to McDonald's, hit up the dollar menu, hit up the value menu, and kind of like make it. It's not anymore. You walk out of McDonald's with a value meal, and for two people, it's like $15, $20 now. And you're like, wait a minute, what happened to like 99 cents and stuff? None of it. The value menu is gone. A double cheeseburger is no longer 99 cents. It's like $1.89 or something like that for like the cheapest burger. It's just this is this is real adulting, right? Like I'm lucky enough where I'm a decent position now that you're not kidding. It's cheaper for me as a single guy to go. Yeah, it really is. Like if you're single, um, maybe once a month, go to the grocery store, buy some basic provisions, some things that like some like basic frozen meals, maybe hit up some Trader Joe's, that sort of stuff. And then like after that, you just like you only eat those when you've like come home tired, or like you really don't want to go out. But outside of that, going a walk around the corner to go get like a whatever, or hop in the car and go to like fast food and get a meal deal, or look up the coupons or whatever. Fast food used to be like you'd eat that and that was a luxury. You were gonna put yourself in the red on your budget. Now, if you're single, that's the way to go, man. Like I'm serious. Like because, and I know this is silly, but it's because these restaurants are hurting, right? They know that people aren't going out to eat, so they have all these ideals, and they've made it cheap enough that a single person. But if you want to go out to like just sit down and a meal of four at like a decent restaurant, it's going to cost you pre pre-pandemic, pre-COVID or whatnot. The kiddos and the wife and I would go out to eat, and $60, $50 was high. Now that's average. So I just, yeah, there is a give and take, but if you know how to plan it right and you know how to shop right, you know how to do it right, certain places you can eat. cheaper than buying groceries, and that's weird. It's just weird to me. Yeah, yeah. Back in the day, right? It used to be like you'd go and make a um you know, making spaghetti at the house is like the struggle meal, right? You could make spaghetti, make a sauce, and make noodles, and that was like $3 worth of like ingredients. Now, the average cost of a freaking jar of ragu is like $7. It's still cheap, but I mean, it's not as cheap as it was. I don't know. It's just it's so bad. Anywho, I haven't run the credits. Let me run those just so that I feel like I started something. Let's do that, and then we can. I'm not really going to talk about news, but I will bring up a couple of stories and see if anyone wants to chime in. So let's roll these. Let's roll the brand here. Let's go. Mm-mm-mm. Welcome to the Mid-Geek Crisis, Supplemental Episode 2. I said at the beginning of the year that anytime I didn't have Pedro, I would probably do an episode like this where it'd be a supplemental episode. It's not really an episode upon the episodic list that is the Mid-Geek Crisis, but it's because I don't want to do anything, right? Like I don't really have anything. There's a lot of stories. A lot of things have happened since the last time we had a show. It's been over 2 weeks. So 3 weeks ago, I think was the last show. And there's been lots of things. Lots of games have come out. We have Street Fighter 6 coming out tomorrow, which I am beyond pumped about. I have been sulking my sorrows in Tears of the Kingdom, Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, and I literally am. I can't like. I have put in at least 100 plus hours into that game already. Like no joke. I think this weekend. I want to say on Saturday after we got done looking at houses and whatnot, I played from like 3 o'clock in the afternoon to at least 3 to 4 o'clock in the morning. I haven't had that much fun with a video game in a while. I don't really have a way to say a review of that game outside of the fact that if you like Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom is phenomenal. It is absolutely better than. Breath of the Wild feels like a beta version of Tears of the Kingdom at this point. There are some things I do miss, some specific little tweaks and things that Breath of the Wild did that they changed for Tears of the Kingdom that I wish was still in the Breath of the Wild style. But outside of that, man, the map is huge. There aren't. I know that's everyone's like the hot take like story on like YouTube or whatever. Are dungeons back? Dungeons are not exactly back. They're more of, you now have lots of caves that you can go in. And when you go into a cave, you get like you just walk into a cave and all of a sudden you're like, discovery cave so-and-so. And then there's all sorts of things that you can find in a cave. But you're not going to find, occasionally you'll find, that's a lie. Occasionally you will find like rare drops in the cave, but none of the major caves or none of the caves are a necessity for gameplay. They're not something that you have to do this. You have to clear this dungeon or whatever, clear this cave to kind of progress in the story. At least that I found. There are temples. So there are 4 major temples, just like there were 4 major like events or locations in Breath of the Wild, and 4 plot points, the same ones as Breath of the Wild. You still have one with the Rito village. You have one with the Durin, right? What are they called? The rock people. God, my brain's gonna not work tonight. You got some with the Zora, and you got one with the Gerudo, and each 4 of those are good plot points. They're way deeper than they were on Breath of the Wild, where it was like get to it, and then small little bit of story with that person, with whatever person you meet there, and then like do the dungeon or do the beast, do the legendary beast or whatever they were called, and then you were done. No, there's a lot more. There's a lot more meat to the story per like location. Also, the memories that you're unlocking to kind of tell the story of the game is also a lot deeper. The map is way bigger. You've now got the same map as you had at Breath of the Wild with tons of changes, tons of like environmental like changes that have happened, and it's all explained why. The world feels more alive. There's a lot more villages, a lot more people. It does feel like you run into someone more, on more than one occasion than the vast emptiness that is Breath of the Wild. Uh, you get attacked more by certain people. There are more there's more variety of enemies. The difficulty feels like it was ramped up even a little bit more. There's just all sorts of like little minute changes mechanically. If you didn't like things breaking, if you didn't like your swords breaking and the resource expenditure of Breath of the Wild, then that has not changed. Sadly, that is exactly the same, and you probably will not like that. But that all being said, with the pickups that you pick up in the game, the new weapons and the fusing of items to make things stronger, the build mechanics. There's a whole mechanic in the game for building and traversing the world. At the same time, you have the ground level, and then you have the sky level, the sky islands, which is about half of the map, or maybe a quarter, or maybe a third of what the lower. And then you have a whole underground, the depths, and the depths are literally a carbon copy of the top underneath with just darkness, and it's pitch black, and it's either you have to like light certain things up, and the enemies down there are a lot more evil. They're all covered in what's called gloom, and they're stronger, and there's things that you have to go down there for, things that are hidden. I mean, it is fun in the discovery sense. If you were able to not sit down on like YouTube or read every spoiler or read every news story and didn't get things spoiled for you, you are going to have a better time, I think, personally, playing Tears of the Kingdom than if you just everything is spoiled, because the story is way deeper. I have the sense of discovery is there that Zelda gives you, that like I found this, oh my god, wow, this is amazing. Um, the story beats, the kind of like the movement of the story when something triggers and changes, you're like, whoa, and all of that feels cool. But we live in an age nowadays where everything is spoiled, right? Like day one, you had like people doing full walkthroughs because all the reviewers had been playing it for like 10 days prior. There's all sorts of things that, just it feels weird because a Zelda game that's this deep hasn't been out. I mean, Breath of the Wild was one, but again, Breath of the Wild still feels very bare bones, right? Like you can walk out of the shrine, like the Shrine of Resurrection at the very beginning of the game, and if you want to, you can go right to the castle and fight Ganon. And that's not what you can do in this game. There are things that have to happen before you can fight the enemy, the big boy. You don't have, for example, your Master Sword. There's a reason why you don't have it, and all of it is a story. And also, this is the first time I think that I can think of really where, I mean, I think there's one more. Maybe no. I really can't think of. Majora's Mask is not technically a sequel to Ocarina of Time, right? It is a kind of an offshoot, same engine, but they use a lot of the same like sprite, or not sprite models. So a lot of the characters you knew or met in Ocarina of Time were running around in Majora's Mask with a different name, or they were the same character name, but they were living in this village, right? They were living in this world. And so it's not technically a sequel, but it is, but it's not, right? Like none of it. And Tears of the Kingdom is legitimately a sequel to Breath of the Wild. With that in mind, though, I will say personally, one of the things that annoys me about Tears of the Kingdom is because it's a sequel, Nintendo still likes to leave things very like open ended so that anyone can play this game without having to play the first one. And so you run into people that should remember you, or you should remember them, or you should at least mention the conversation of, hey, that last time you were here, we did this thing. And, you know, that didn't happen this time around. Or now it's like, it's almost like the first time you've met someone every time. Even if you go back to the village where, let's say you bought a house, you bought your house in Breath of the Wild, there's a whole quest on that. And the people you meet in that village again don't recognize you. They don't treat you like like you're someone that you've lived there. Like, oh, hey, Link, what's going on? You know, I've been watching over your house. That doesn't happen, which annoys me a little. There's just a little annoyance about like how every character you meet, except maybe the main ones, treat you like it's the first time they're meeting you, which I guess could make sense if maybe you played the first game without doing any of the missions. But outside of that, it's a small annoyance, but it's small enough that it's small enough that it bugs me, but it won't bug anyone else. Like it won't bug everyone. It doesn't diminish the game in any way. But yeah, like you show up to a village and you're like, oh, we're a village that does this, and I'm like, yeah, I know that. I've been here before. I was in this village in the first game. Also, they never really mentioned how many years have passed since the first game. So I would imagine it's at least 5 years or so. 5 to 10 years, maybe. I mean, you haven't aged much. Zelda hasn't aged much. I don't think she has. But you can definitely see that there's been changes enough that this wasn't like 6 months, right? This was like, there's definitely a significant amount of time between the first game and the second game. I just don't know how much it is. They don't really tell you. At least I haven't found a spot. If someone ever watching this video likes to comment and tell me how much time they know happened, I'd like to know. But outside of that, it doesn't matter. The game is fun. It's great. I'm putting in tons of hours in it, and it's definitely a slow burn game. Don't buy the game and run through it and try to get to the ending. You're not gonna. It's not. That game is not for that. This game is legitimately, I can sit there and do like the smallest task for hours, and you're not progressing really in the story, but you're having fun, and that's what is amazing. Also, I have to commend Nintendo for the billionth time. I've said it before. They're masters at making games. They're masters at making like these type of games, and I've never seen an open world game come like with the amount of mechanics and the amount of things that you can do in this game. Day one, where a day one patch isn't needed. I mean, there have been patches since. Some of them have fixed like random exploits that people have found, but you don't need to have any of those patches. The game is complete from beginning to end on the cart, on the first download. And it's not broken. There are mechanics in the game that legitimately should break the game, which some of the glitches make it that you can break the game, but none of them break on purpose. Like none of them are like you're playing the game and all of a sudden you're like, oh, no, you have to legitimately try to find some of those like breakpoints. You know, use a mechanic or a pause or like a movement that doesn't break the game. Why didn't you read them? I think waiting for 92. I don't know. That might be. I mean, what do we classify as open world, right? Like, I mean, I guess the first Zelda could be considered open world, right? Because it was a full map. Every time you move around the screen, it's a different section of the map, right? But it is an open world. You are traversing on top of this overworld. So that is something that is happening, but I don't know. Like open world, I guess when I think about open world, I think about like the modern like 3D method of open world where it's a 3D world where there's no loading. There's no real loading. I mean, there is loading in Breath of the Wild, like going into a shrine and out of a shrine, but there's not like you can go from one side of the map to the other without a single loading screen, right? You just walk across it, and it works. And open world games are like that, right? Like GTA 3 and whatnot. You can go from one side of the map to the other without any real loading. So I don't know. It's interesting to me. Like this is it is a, I'm not saying Nintendo did anything really new, but it's impressive what they were able to do with a system that is, it is now 5 years old, 6 years old, but 2016, 2017, right? Came out 2017, so we're now 5 years, 6 years into the console's lifespan. But the chip inside of the Switch is 7 years old. So the actual like GPU, CPU in that thing is 7 years old, and it's doing like it's creating a world where the graphics are definitely better than Breath of the Wild in certain points. The world feels bigger and more expansive, and it's doing just fine. So I can't believe they were able to do what they did with this handheld, right? It's a console, but it is a handheld, and it's all there. Like, it's amazing. I commend them truly. Difference between a supplemental is I'm going to get up and let the dogs out because they are scratching at the window. 1 second. There we go. I let the dogs inside earlier. Made a big mistake by doing that. Letting them out. Letting them in. I mean, when I'm out here, then they freak out. They're like, "Where are you? Where are you?" Anywho, that's what I've been doing. Outside of, house drama and family drama, Tears of the Kingdom have really taken up my time. In the time that we've been gone as well, Super Mario came out on digital, right? So you can now watch it. You can buy it, and I bought it. I had to buy it. It was great. And my sister, who might still be in chat or might not be, we sat down and watched it when I was visiting my folks, and we watched it in Spanish. Like, I changed the language. I was hoping that the Japanese language was on there, but I think that's because there's some changes in the movie that were made, and so probably the Japanese language track wasn't on the Western version of the movie. I'm gonna find the Japanese version. I definitely want to watch it. Yeah, man. But use those Prime Day bonuses. Yeah. Go pick it up if you haven't watched the Mario movie. It's not too expensive. I mean, $20, $24, I think is what it was, but I paid for it. It's probably going to be cheaper in a few weeks, $19.99 or whatever. But great watch. I really enjoyed watching it in Spanish. The accent, like the voices were really good. I mean, don't get me wrong. I had no problem with any of the U.S. voices at all. Like Chris Pratt did great as Mario. I had no complaint whatsoever. Yeah. Okay. Oh, wow. Oh. Yeah, might as well buy, man. I mean, look, if you're going to buy, just wait for it on Blu-ray. That way you can at least own a physical copy. But I bought it because I really wanted to watch it. And I wanted to watch it at least in 4K streaming. And it was worth it. I had a lot of fun. I've given that movie enough money, right? I bought it for $30, right? And then I bought tickets for my kids. And I bought tickets a second time to watch it with my sister. So that I've definitely paid for that movie 3 times over, and it was worth it. It's one of the best kid movies I think I've seen. It's already broken all sorts of records. I think I read a story that it is now the highest grossing movie in Mexico ever. I think it broke, like, I think the last movie was like Spider-Man, one of the new Spider-Man movies, like and it had like 65 million or something like that. I know it seems like low for Mexico, but you have to understand, like, the amount of money that people have to go to the movies and whatnot is very low there. So I think it's at 85 million or something ridiculous, and it's a ton of money for Mexico. It's already like the third highest grossing animated movie like ever here in the US. It's already beaten a ton of the like Disney movies. Find some news on it to back up my claims here. All-time domestic box office, it's 14th. International is 35th. All-time worldwide box office, it's 19th. all-time domestic box office for digital animation. It's at it's second place. So that's pretty great, man. Yeah, it's making the monies. Let me see if I can find the story here. That's I've enjoyed it. It was worth it. And if you haven't seen it, please go buy it. Go watch it. Yeah, here we go. So I can find the so I can pull it up. Present. Yeah, here we go. Super Mario Brothers movie is now the country's biggest film ever at the box office. So that was a week ago, 2 weeks ago now that the story came out. But I mean, that's still impressive. It's that's a ton of money. That's a ton of money. What is it? Highest record movie ever. So it says that the last movie that it was Spider-Man: No Way Home, which made 81 million. It's now 82.4 million. That's pretty cool, man. That's a lot of money. So, and again, money doesn't mean it does great, but yeah, I still remember when we were breaking 100 million. Yeah, I mean it was, but then that was around the time I want to say that was like Jurassic Park time, if not a little further than that, maybe a few years after that. But then the budget of movies started going up, right? So movies, the first time you heard that, oh, a movie costs $100 million to make, oh my god. I think I remember Superman Returns or something cost like something ridiculous. It was always like 200 million because all that they were taking all the money that had been spent in pre-production of all the other movies as well. Marvel movie. Not anymore, man. Like I've been watching the stories lately. Like people are getting burnt out on the Marvel, man, and they're not making the money like they used to. So yeah, but that's got a lot to do with. There's other reasons for that. China's very like they're not going to give money to a Japanese company. Like they know Nintendo's making the money off of that. There's a lot of weirdness about that kind of stuff, and so they're very reserved on that. They could, they probably don't, or it's not being played at certain theaters at the amount of theaters that probably they want. Remember, if you look up, I think I want to say that China only allows a certain amount of movies a year, Western movies, to come over, and I think since this is being done by Illumination and it's being done by Universal, it's considered an American movie. So they only allow a certain amount of movies a year to be aired in China, and that was one of them. So maybe people reserve the movies that they're going to watch. So I don't know the reason, but I would estimate that it should be more than that. You're right, but 24 million in China seems a little low. For sure. What else? What else is new? Let's take a look at some other stories real quick since we're just kind of chilling tonight. Let's put some of that music back up. Let's put this one up. What does this one look like? There we go. Oh man, what else? What else have I missed or talked about? What's another story that we need to talk about? Or at least bring up since we've been gone. I know that we're getting Diablo 4 coming out soon. I know that we got Street Fighter 6 coming out tomorrow. I'm super pumped for that. That is something that I've been really jazzed about. You know, I've I'll talk a little bit about my hobbies and whatnot as well as I've done the show from the arcade room, and one of those machines, my Velix, is a dedicated modern fighter, and the plan was always to get it ready for Street Fighter 6, and that's what I've been doing. So it is ready. Like the game is ready to go. I'm ready to run on that system. Uh, so I am. Let me show you what I've done to it since. Um, I got the benchmark running on it. So Capcom released a benchmark for it recently, and I got a custom panel for it, and I will see if I can share that. Mark kind of running in the background. They used to demo, so I've got the cab ready to go there. The game feels great. So I'm excited to sit down and play it tomorrow. Yep. So I did a purple custom panel on it. Ordered that back in January from a maker in Brazil. Rafael is his name. And it's exciting to finally have it. I got it a little over a week ago before I went to Houston, and I finally sat down this weekend and installed it. But it looks good. The benchmark for my system, I was able to, because you kind of want to run it, like kind of turn up all the settings and whatnot, and Capcom give you like a test to see how it's going to do. And sure enough, my system that I built for it was ready. And it's not really a beefy system at all, actually. 920 by 1080. I'm not running at anything higher because the panel in the arcade is only 1080p. But I was able to get optimal play 100 out of 100. So that's pretty good, exciting. One of these days, I'd like to see full tour. Oh yeah, man, I'll sit down. So like I said, right now it was kind of ready to go, and then I was working on some stuff, and now that I'm also ready to kind of pack up and move, I'm not starting to take it down yet, but it's not show ready yet. And eventually, when I get the new place, I'll get the arcade room set up. I'm probably going to do a whole like video series on working on the room. I'm excited to kind of do that now when I have the new place. Probably do some paint on the walls and lighting, carpeting. Do some of that arcade carpeting in the room, that kind of stuff. Oh yeah, man, it's next gen only, and it's good. I mean, it sucks that you're still on the old Xbox, but it was about time that they kind of started making some of these games that are next gen only. But yeah, it is next gen only. It is Xbox. Wait, yeah, it is PS4 though, which is interesting. So there is a PS4 version of Street Fighter 6, but there isn't an Xbox One or an Xbox One version, huh? That's interesting. I don't know if yeah, no, I get it. That said, though, I mean, the nice part is next gen is still the Series S, right? So that's a good entry point for the Series S, and you can find the Series S for 200 or so. That is, I'm sure they have the same deal like when you picked up your Xbox, your One S. They probably have the same deal where you can do like I'm pretty sure they do. They have like a Microsoft like payment thing where you like buy in and you get like Ultimate and all that for a monthly payment, and you get the system. I forgot who did that, but I think you can still jump on that. And it is on Series X, Series S for sure. Because I think I've got a copy of Street Fighter 6 coming for Xbox as well, even though I bought it for PC because that's what I've got running in the cab. But I'm excited. I'm excited to play it. I've been playing the demo. It feels better than 5. It looks better than 5. Yeah, I know. Yeah. Adulting sucks, man. That was the whole first part of the show. Go rewind. It was a lot of anger and bitching about the housing market and the house hunt and all that kind of stuff. Adulting sucks. Getting older sucks. So, what else? What a Street Fighter, man! I'm so hyped for Street Fighter. I wish I could just want to talk about Street Fighter. As soon as the game comes out, I'll probably put it on stream and sit down and kind of do like a talk and play the game and get my butt kicked online, because I'll tell you what, I know I suck. I know I suck at Street Fighter, but I am so excited for Street Fighter 6, and it's I haven't been excited for a fighting game like this in a while, so jazzed for sure. Are they have they done a trailer yet? A launch trailer? They usually do a launch trailer. Oh, that's right, they did. So we've got Yeah, 4 hours ago they put out a new outfit trailer. Oh, let's watch that. Let's turn down this music here again. We're flying solo tonight, so let's watch this this trailer because it's a pretty neat, I think. Boom. Yeah, I think this is the new outfits. Or at least the classic outfit. Whew.
Ready? Then show me.
I'm number one!
Nowhere to run.
Bring the heat!
Beginning operation.
What are you waiting for?
Time to meet your maker. Locked on.
I'm ready.
Hope you're not a sore loser.
The pleasure.
Let me have some fun.
I would beat you. Trust me. But I appreciate the confidence, Tim.
Do you need to take a rest?
I may need a second helping.
In ruins.
Drop this up! Not too slow! Stay! Street Fighter 6.
I am so pumped for this game. So pumped. Yes, I have the big boy version ready to go. Ready to go. We can do 1v1 next time you should choose it. Yeah, let's do that, sir. We'll play some 1v1. You can play Chun-Li. Which version of Street Fighter 2 you want to play? Just basic Street Fighter 2, Street Fighter 2 Turbo, Championship Edition. What do you want to play? Because all of them have different mechanics, and all of them are slightly little different. And I mean, if you're gonna try to beat me at regular Street Fighter 2, like base Super Nintendo Street Fighter 2, let's go. Man, I forgot who I used to play with on base Street Fighter 2. Sure, base Street Fighter 2 might have been. I mean, Ryu was so broken in that game. Blanco was also pretty good. I mean, he was fun to play with on base Street Fighter 2. Championship Edition, Sagat, however you want to say it, was my boy. I only had two versions. Yeah, Turbo and base. You can do whatever. Okay, remember, Turbo, Chun-Li gets a fireball. She doesn't have a fireball on regular. I use Chun-Li as well. Yeah, so that's funny that you guys. I mean, you play as Chun-Li and Guile. That means if you were talking fighting game community terminology, you play charge characters, right? So, and if you're not familiar, what that means is you would have the Shoto style or charge, and so a lot of characters have like down forward, half circle, quarter circle movements, and then characters that you charge like Chun-Li and Guile were charge characters, right? So a lot of their characters were basically hold back, flick forward, punch for a fireball, or back forward for a kick, or hold down up for a hurricane kick, or no, what is it called? The helicopter kick, spinning bird kick, depending on which one you're playing. And No. Ryu is Shoto. He is base Shoto. He is Ken, Ryu, even Dalsim could technically be called. I mean, he's not a Shoto, but his movements are very quarter circle, quarterback circle, that sort of stuff. Blanca is a charge character, um, but yeah, you get more depending on what version of Street Fighter. Again, the fighting community is fun. I've been part of it for many years. I stopped. I pulled away. I came back in Street Fighter 4. I didn't play Street Fighter 5. I should have. I didn't. I've been building sticks and working on arcade machines for years and years and years. And this game has me very pumped for it. Of course, while I was gone, if you didn't pay attention as well, then thank you for reminding me. Now that I mentioned it, is we've got an announcement for a new Mortal Kombat. Let me hear that. So if you haven't been following along the story of Mortal Kombat, right? So Mortal Kombat, the last Mortal Kombat 11, was a kind of the last game in that storyline, and I guess to kind of, if we want to talk about, I mean, people always talk about fighting games on the stories, and no, that's the best part about fighting games. A lot of fighting games have really good lore. That's a lot of the lore isn't even given to you up front. There's just a lot of you have to read between the lines and that sort of stuff. Like there's lore in Street Fighter that people they don't realize, and of course some people do, but there's definitely a good story that happens in Street Fighter 2, Street Fighter 3. The timeline, what game comes before first, like Alpha 2, Alpha 3 all happened before Street Fighter 2. Street Fighter 3 is technically the furthest out. Street Fighter 5 takes place before Street Fighter 3, I think, but Street Fighter 6 is now the last one in the franchise storyline wise. So a good thing, like if you haven't been paying attention or watched any of the trailers, Chun-Li is older. She's now, I think, in her 40s, and she is now a teacher, and she's now got a pupil. Ryu is older. He has surpassed the evil that is the Dan. So she's older. I mean, she doesn't look it in the trailers and whatnot, right? But because she's fit, but she is a Sifu now. She is a Kung Fu Sifu. She is a master, and so she has a pupil. Well, you know what I mean. Like she's in her 40s, late 40s or whatnot. That's what they're saying. I mean, in every game, she's always been portrayed as like mid-20s, right? Like no matter what, she's like maybe early 30s at the most. Hell, the first Street Fighter 2, when you beat the game with her, you beat the game and she's like, I win, and she takes off all her stuff. She's like, I can go back being a single girl. Like such a weird ending for that game. But everything's kind of progressed in time. I mean, Ken has got a family, he's got kids, he's gotten older. There's like a whole conspiracy behind what's going on with him, and so he's on the run. He's being charged with something in this storyline, and so everything has progressed in this story. So yes, they're older. Obviously, 40 is not older, but you have to talk about the fact that these characters were portrayed as mid-20s or whatnot. Late 40s is way old. I mean, to be fair, in a fighting game, right? Like, could you imagine being in your 40s and doing those type of kicks? Like, I would pull a hammy. Like at this point, like I would be like, oh God, my shoulder. Oh God, I fell. Like every punch you couldn't recover from. But apparently, these characters like get back up and like ready for the next fight after like a fight that like punched them 10 feet in the air. So I pulled my shoulder playing games. Yeah, totally. I've got some behind the scenes here lately. I've been like, sometimes I'm sitting there and I reach for a cup and I get like a twinge in my shoulder. I'm like, oh God, what happened there? I'm like, that's a new thing. That's all new. What is that? Is that an old thing, or did I do something to my shoulder? What's going on? So yeah, again, I don't know how old she's supposed to be. She's definitely in her late 40s. She's a Sifu at this point. Yeah, so you're not even 40 yet, Rolls. Yeah, no, it was just totally like at 40 is the equivalent of a Hyundai Kia warranty, where it's the 100,000 mile mark. Like everything after that, you're on your own on repair. Everything before that, you can still go to the dealer and kind of get things dealt with. But at that point, 40 is the 100,000 mile mark, and everything after that is like on your own dime, is the way I see it. And Dan, you're only older than me by 2 years, right? I'm turning 42 this year, so. And Pedro is an old bag, like he's gonna be 50 or something. Yeah, I kid. He's not here to defend himself. He's just old. Oh yeah, man, I can't wait to do that. Nah, one of the nice things is in the house hunt we're looking for is most of the houses we're looking at are not in an HOA, and I definitely don't want an HOA because I'm gonna put a giant glowing dinosaur on my front lawn just to like piss people off. Can't wait. 40 marks the time where no one cares what we think anymore. We no longer. Yes, Tim, that is 100% capitalism. 40. We're no longer the target demographic, right? Although to be fair, someone needs to like wake up these advertise companies and realize that people in their 40s are the ones with the expendable income. I think there's going to be a whole new like shakeup on that. We got some corgi butt right here. Corgi butt. There's going to be a shakeup on that whole like marketing target demographic thing lately because people in their 30s and 40s are the ones kind of able to spend. The ones where capitalism functions, like it functions for us, because we have the quote unquote expendable income. I say that like I'm like rolling in the dough when I'm not, but like I can go out and do something. Someone in their 20s can't do that right now, at least not with this modern inflated economy or whatnot. So obviously right now, advertising companies need to really like pull back and go, wait a minute. We need to stop treating the 40s like they're no longer like spenders. That said, though, people in their 40s, again, if we're going to talk tech, people in their 40s have been around for like on the smartphone side of things for over 10 plus years. We're now going on 15 years of smartphones, and we have made our decision. It's very rare to get someone in their 40s to switch environment, right? Like I can't like. I'm obviously biased because I worked at Apple and I have many years of Apple experience, but I can't imagine someone in their 40s that has had a phone environment, has spent all this money on apps, has done all of this. Maybe all their photos are on iCloud. Switch, like just pick up and go, I'm going to move over to Android and learn a whole new operating system at 45 years old. It didn't happen. I don't see it. So that's definitely it. Phone companies and tech companies are definitely targeting the demographic. People in their 40s are setting. Yeah, we're setting our ways, but I wouldn't say completely, right? There are still things like we could still be targeted at, right? Like food, entertainment, cars, things of higher expense need to be targeted towards us because we're the ones with a quote unquote the credit, the expendable income. We might have kids that we're going to be buying for. That sort of thing, but people in their 20s are realizing that shit's too expensive, right? Like they can't deal with it, so they don't make concrete. They're fickle, which is good for money spending because companies can still kind of target you, which is obviously the point of this conversation. But I guess in their 40s, there's still a thing that you can target us. It's just not the same. It's not the same playbook. Dan, I commend you. That's amazing. I'm sure you probably have a lot of growing pains and anger, things that you're like, why can't I do this? That's a whole conversation. I could have a whole talk on that because I used to talk to people all the time that would switch over from Android to iPhone, and which is funny because the further we've gotten from the base level of Android up to like the newest version, the newer version of Android is very similar to iPhone in the walled garden sense. People like to say that Android has more freedom, but it doesn't anymore. Google has really tried to like rein you in and bring you into their ecosystem, to their walled garden. Use our photos, use this, use that, use Android, use the Google stuff because it'll make things better, because they realize that makes functionality better for them. And Apple has had that since day one, which is you just have to kind of give up some things, you know. That is a major switch. Yeah, it's the small quirks, things that are different for sure. But I mean, I can guarantee you, because I used to support both operating systems, that if you don't know how to do something on an Apple phone and you say it can't be done, it can be done. There's just sometimes it takes a little work, but once you figure out how to do it, you realize, oh, that's a weird way of doing things, but yeah, okay, that works. Also, it has a lot to do with Apple's stance on like privacy and security and whatnot. Has a lot to do with, I know people like to say that Apple likes to make money in different ways, but Apple makes money on selling you shit. Google likes to sell your shit, right? That's, I think, the best analogy is Google makes money off of your shit, and Apple makes money off of their shit, you buying their shit. And that's kind of the nature of it, right? Google gives you free this and free that and free whatever, but they mine the crap out of you, right? Like you are the product, and Apple really doesn't. That's why Siri sucks, because Siri doesn't mine you. A lot of it is in the secure enclave, all that stuff. The health information has to stay by HIPAA standards and all that has to stay on their phone, unless you use a third-party application, which then can then mine you. I mean, there's all sorts of things. That's a weird one. That's always been one of the, for any tech reviewer, by the way, for anyone in tech, iPhone has always had a better touch screen. Their touch technology and the touch like precision and the fluidity of animations has been leaps and bounds to get over Android for many years. But that said, though, they've gotten better now that Android's got like 120 hertz screens and whatnot. Android phones have always required way more memory. Like a good flagship Android phone has got like 16 to 32 gigs of memory, but yet an iPhone can have like 8 gigs of memory. And that's because, again, that has a lot to do with the bare metal of Apple, right? You've got hardware and software all made by the same person, where Android relies on someone like Qualcomm still making their CPUs, and Samsung making this and that and the other. And then Android, the operating system, has to run on all that and has to support so many more bits of hardware, versus Apple, where the operating system only has to target 4 or 5 different phones, right? So that's the turnaround, but there's a reason why things are like a little more fluid, etc. But that's interesting that you feel like it's not, because tapping has always felt better. I've never had tapping or touch sensitivity or anything like that feel off on iPhone. To be honest, I haven't run across anything that I can do on a phone that I can't do on my iPhone. Right, and that's only because, Tim, you've actually been on iPhone for a while now. I remember when you were on an Android and you moved over to iPhone and there were some growing pains, but now you've realized that you can pretty much do everything, and you've gotten kind of used to your ways. So you're many generations in to iPhone now, and I think that might happen with Dan. Eventually, he will get used to the way things work. And if you were to go back to and really embrace the ecosystem, don't fight it. A lot of people like to kick and scream and not want to use the iPhone and the Apple ecosystem, and that's kind of that's where things don't go well for them, right? If you want to keep using third-party stuff, it doesn't go well for you in an iPhone, for sure. Like if you want to set Chrome as your base browser, like I wouldn't do that. Yeah, function. Well, but Dan, that's by nature, right? And only because Android has really had to call their freedom a little bit. And I say that only because I know Android fans would be like, no, but you can still customize. You can still do this. You can. But Android has really had to realize that, like the messaging argument, like Android really is kicking themselves royally for not really adopting a iMessage like environment for many years, because I'll be honest with you, yeah, I know people make fun of the green bubble and blue bubble, but iMessage is infinitely superior without having to use a third-party application, right? Like if you're going to use WhatsApp or you're going to use Facebook Messenger or anything like that, then that's all fine. That's all ecosystem agnostic, right? You can run it on anything, and that feels the same everywhere. But iMessage in general is infinitely better than anything Google has. That's fair. That's fair. So you want like your browser, your mail, your camera, your, all 5 in 1 as opposed to only 4. I can understand that. Google Messages, Google Hangout, Google Chat. Oh man, and then we can. There's more. There's like Hello and Knock, and there was a bunch of other. They've had a bunch of different ones that they've tried. The fact that Google technically still doesn't have like a built into Android Duo. Yeah, it was another one. A built into Android I'm FaceTime thing, right? Like, look how that's become. Like, FaceTime is a verb. When everyone used to go, I'd Skype you. Let me Skype you. Let's Skype. Now it's like, hey, let me Zoom you or FaceTime you. But Google, built into their operating system, still doesn't have like a universal, like, if you've got an Android, I can just message you or I can just FaceTime you. You can't. Because if you've got a Samsung versus like a Pixel, you might not have the application needed. It might not be loaded in there. And so that's so weird to me, considering that Android had front-facing cameras way before Apple did. They just didn't have like a standardized messaging, like video conferencing software built in. People will say Google Hangout was always there, but you had to download that, especially about a Samsung phone. They wouldn't load it. It wouldn't be part of it. They would have your own Samsung messaging software or whatever. Man, I don't know. This is kind of one of those things where I can't think of what else I need on my phone. This might be, I was thinking about it. This might be the first year that I don't upgrade. I upgrade every year because I'm a tech guy. I'm sure Apple will put out a feature that'll make me want to buy it. For sure. I mean, I'm rocking like the newest Ultra watch, and I'm using an iPhone 14 as my webcam right now. Which has excellent quality, for sure. But I can't think of anything. I know that apparently we're going to be getting the headset, the AR headset from Apple. But I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what I want. Apple needs to tell me what I want. Hardware-wise, I mean, right now the machine I'm on is a MacBook Pro, M1 Pro. So I keep up, but I don't run out to get their newest hardware now, except our phone. But I don't know. I really don't know anymore. I'm excited for USB-C, which is a long time coming. I can't believe it's taken as long as it has. Yeah. I always like to bring up this conversation about the FaceTime thing was one of them, but FaceTime is an argument that I always bring up because I'm like, look, here's Apple that took the longest to add like a front-facing camera, but when they did do it, they made sure they added it to all their phones, and they had the built-in feature, which was FaceTime. All of the products with a front-facing camera, you would hit a button and boom, you could make a video phone call. It didn't matter what device you had. You would just hit the button and they would show up on your phone. It would be like a phone call. It would be like a phone number. And Android didn't have that. Another one I'd like to bring up is Apple Pay. Apple Pay is so funny. It's always like interesting to me because Google had Google Wallet for many years. Many years had NFC form of payment. And then Apple added it. And before Apple released it, they talked to all of these credit card companies. They talked to the vendors. They talked to manufacturers. They talked to all of these companies. And then, boom, Apple Pay became a thing. It became a name. They branded it. It became like NFC payment. It was so scary for Google that Google had to go back and rebrand Apple Wallet to Google Pay. Samsung, which is a Google environment, made their own. Like they had to like brand it because they all had to go and like make their own because everyone was like, oh, we don't like the fact that everyone's using Apple Pay. Everyone was calling NFC payment. You still go to a store and they're like, oh, we accept Apple Pay. And you might have an Android phone, but that just means NFC payment. So that's what's really funny. Apple has been waiting. Everyone always says Apple doesn't innovate. Apple doesn't innovate. You're right. They don't technically innovate, but what they do is when they release a product, they like to release it once they've got a proper beginning and ending to the product. Like AR, we've had multiple AR headsets, and like you said, some of them look dumb. They don't work. There's not a good ecosystem. The moment Apple does it is going to be interesting because now we have a big company that has an app ecosystem that has a walled garden that has like this like really really heavy and cult like following of a user base. And the moment that they pull the trigger and do that, Apple people are going to buy it, and you are going to surpass things like Oculus very quickly. So yeah, I mean, you get it. You get it. Google Pay, Google Wallet, Samsung Pay. Everyone was doing like an NFC Pay. Everyone was trying to counter that like 1-2 punch that Apple had with Apple Pay, and it didn't work very well because while Google Pay still exists, Apple Pay is still like a big deal, and you still go to stores and they at the cash register you see the Apple Pay logo, and so that's become kind of like a you didn't market it right, you didn't do it right, you didn't talk to the banks, and Google had that opportunity, didn't do it. So now that's why I'm saying Android has become more Apple-like in their like functionality, in their walled garden-esque use. So I suspect AR, like Apple's not going to release a headset or do anything like this until they've got some sort of like plan for it. So I don't know what to really expect, but they're really going to sell it to me at WWDC, and we'll see what happens. It's going to be expensive. It's going to be like $1,000 headset. It's going to cost as much as an iPhone, if not more. It's going to be this like really, really first gen thing that's going to like work, but not work. But because it's an Apple ecosystem product, there will be adoption more so than most people think. And that will be a big push for other companies to kind of like go, what is Apple doing? Maybe we need to do it that way. So I don't know. I have a an Nreal that I use for travel, and it's cool. It's technically augmented reality, but it's not anywhere near what I'm expecting Apple's going to pull off. Well, I hate to say it, but I need to catch up on some sleep. And I said, yeah, man, I'll be back next week. Hopefully I'll be back with Pedro for sure. I'm not getting off yet. Please stick around if you're still in chat. I'm chilling here. Like I said, I'm an hour and 20 minutes in, but I'm not going anywhere tonight. I'm going to maybe spend another 30 minutes finishing the cigar. But yeah, Rolls, thank you for joining us again. I appreciate your subscription. I appreciate everything you do. I'm glad you're always the first one in. It really makes it worth it. So I appreciate it, man. Tim, you are still around. Thank you. For sure. We did, but I gotta always bring it back because, man, I had nothing but praise to talk about Tears of the Kingdom, man. That is a game that I could talk about for hours, and I had to kind of stop because I was talking too much about it, right? But don't know how many hours you've got into it, but I definitely have at least 80 to 100 hours into the game, for sure. Yeah. So far at 80 plus, easy. And I have been enjoying it immensely. I am not watching any spoiler videos. I'm not watching hardly any tip videos. I'll occasionally watch a video on how to do something where I'm already at, where I've run into, and I'm trying to figure out how to work it. But outside of that, the level of discovery of the story, the world, the map, everything is like so much better than Breath of the Wild and infinitely more fun. And I'm having a blast. I love every little nuance of the game. I don't know what to really say, but yeah, I mean, enjoy your talk. Probably potentially wind up. Oh man, you know how I work. It's wind me up and I go. I've watched a couple of videos. Yes, Dan, that's exactly it. Like occasionally I find like, 10 things you need to know about this, or how to find this particular weapon or whatever, but nothing spoiler story wise. And that's been just the right tune of video for sure. But man, I really feel sad for anybody that spoiled the story, spoiled everything about the game. And yeah, just don't watch anything spoiler wise of that game. Just don't do it. The grind has been fun. the hold on one second. My dog is trying to. Don't do it. You're gonna get stung. There's a small little hornet nest, and my dog is picking at it, and I really don't want her to get stung. So, anywho, she ran off. Anywho, but yeah, no, man, the game is like infinitely great. Um, yeah, like it's all about content, right? Like even right now, I'm in this weird bubble, right? Because I'm online, I'm sharing stuff, and honestly, I don't want to talk about it more than what I've already experienced, and I don't want anyone to not experience the game the way I am. Although we live in a world where, like I said, the game came out, and first thing we saw were people putting up videos of the ending and whatnot because the game had leaked, because people had played it, because people want to be the first to share that kind of content. And I get it. There are people that can sit down and watch a whole like walkthrough and enjoy the game their way. That is the method of Twitch. People would rather sit down and watch someone play the game versus playing it themselves. I've been having that fight with my kid recently. My youngest is a big Zelda fan. Like he loved Breath of the Wild. Right, but he kind of like, I wouldn't say discovered it, but he really got into it after it had been out, right? Like he finally got old enough to sit down and play the game. I mean, he's 9, he's going to be 10, he's 9 years old. But he didn't really sit down and play the game until past 2 years or so, but the game had been out for multiple years now. So there were no spoilers at the time. So Tears of the Kingdom came out and he was really excited for it, but he's also like all about watching YouTube videos. So I'm playing the game and he's like, Dad, if you do this and this, and I'm like, no, stop. Don't tell me. And I really hate that. I don't want to quell his like passion, because his passion is his own, like the way he's, but also like, I'm like, buddy, like you see that I'm playing, you see how many hours I've been playing, like look how much I've discovered, and I haven't watched the videos you have. But he's like, well, if you go and do this, you can unlock this first. And I'm like, I don't want to know that. I really don't want to know that. Like, I really want you not to tell me. Oh yeah. We had like opening day. People had taken video of the screen, right? And shown. Yeah, man. It was probably good. I don't know how much you had spoiled prior to that, but it felt good playing that game from beginning to end. You know, without shortcuts, without it, just enjoying the game, playing every bit of it, and the discovery of that game. And Tears of the Kingdom is even more so like that. Like that's what's been fun. Yeah, man. I'm like, I'm so glad summer's here. My kids are out of school, but yeah, my kiddo would come home talking about like spoiler stuff about games and whatnot. And I'm like, chill, like. And he knows Daddy doesn't play games that way. He knows that I'm not like that. And but that doesn't stop him from wanting to share. And I'm really trying to like make him a better gamer. Without, I don't want him to not. I don't want. He doesn't need to be a carbon copy of me. That's not what I'm trying. But I'm trying to let him know that like, hey, sometimes experiencing something yourself and the surprise and the discovery yourself is a completely different experience, and it's better than having some random YouTuber that felt that and then is spoiling it for you, and you don't get to feel it that way. And that's what's sad, because a lot of these people playing these games are finding this stuff out themselves and they're sharing it with a big passion, but then the people watching it don't get that. Well, and that's sad. It's like a weird like give and take. Right, Dan. So like, and again, same thing with Tears of the Kingdom right now. It is like the most popular piece of content right now. You can make any video on anything on Tears of the Kingdom and you're going to get views. So, and that's only because the game is so popular. Everyone is playing the freaking game. And what's nice about it is even though the game has been out for a few weeks now, the speed that people are playing it at isn't as fast as I thought it would be. I mean, yeah, there are tons of people that have beat it, but I am seeing tons of people just doing random things in the game slowly, enjoying it, the slow burn. And I think people have been, I mean, you wait for a game for 6+ years. Why would you want to like devour that game in one day? Why would you do that? Why would you like break the game and like? I mean, don't get me wrong. There's a level of fun on breaking a game. With Breath of the Wild, now I've beaten the game one way, but now there's a whole like level of after I've beaten a game, I'll play a game in a very different way. I'll cheat maybe, or I'll unlock things early, or I'll do things just because I want to experience it in a different way. But the first time around has to be um, pure. I don't know how to describe it. It has to be the way it was intended. I don't want to say it that way either because that's kind of gatekeepy. More along the lines of like just kind of enjoy it, savor it, and then the next time around I can break it and kind of play around because I know the mechanics. I know what's happening. So Breath of the Wild is like that, and I do that all the time. I ran through 3 quarters of the game again the second time around recently, um, before Tears of the Kingdom, and enjoyed it equally. I went through and played every major village, region, the beasts or whatever, and loved it. Loved every minute of it. Everyone is distracted by all the building. Why beat the game when you can create a super mega? That is true. That is impressive. Seeing the videos of what people are building in the game is absolutely bananas. But I think Nintendo's smart because they realize that that type of gameplay is a whole new method of gameplay, and them getting the longevity of the game by like adding all of these physics is impressive. And Dan, that was one of the conversations I had earlier. It's impressive to me that Nintendo made this game with uh, all of these game breaking tools without it breaking the game too much. If that makes sense. Like the fact that you've got ascend, like ascend is a power. Like you can literally go through walls in that game, and the mechanic is well tuned that you can cheese some things but not everything. And even though it's a tool that tends to work pretty much anywhere, I mean, you can be in a cave and immediately use it, and it'll shoot you through the roof of the cave, and you're in the upper world again. That's cool to me. Like that's amazing. Um, duplication which is updated work. There is a new dupe glitch for 1.12 that works. If you want to look that up, it is one of the new stories lately. So yeah, it is possible now. Again, there is a new one, but I know which one you're talking about. And yeah, I used it a little bit for sure. It is fun to use for certain resources that are just silly to kind of like go and mine. But you can't dupe everything, right? You can only dupe things that are materials. You can't like arrows, for example, is still a consumable that you can't dupe. At least I never found a way to dupe it. So, um, but Dan, again, if it doesn't break the game completely, it might break the economy a little. But honestly, the game's economy is silly, right? Because every major weapon is a piece of hardware that breaks. Shields break, bows break, armor doesn't break, but materials don't really fix that for you, right? Like you can have a piece of armor, and I guess you can dupe some of the material that you need to upgrade it, but that's so far into the game already that you've experienced a lot of the game. You've unlocked a majority of the game to get to that point because you can't just go and immediately unlock things. You have to find the great fairies. You then have to kind of upgrade the fairies enough for them to give you that stuff. Like there's levels of things, and I think that's very smart. I think the developers knew that people would break it in a specific way. Not saying that people won't speed run it and find a way to do it, but 100%ing the game is a little harder this time around, I think. Um, yeah, I haven't done a single one. I've got like 80 plus hours and I haven't found a single fairy. I've heard where they are. Oh, outside of this particular stable or whatever, but I haven't gone to it. Um, uh, I've almost unlocked the entire map, all of the towers. I know that once you unlock all the towers, you can go and get the teleport pad that you can your own teleport pad, which is cool, from Robbie. So that's something that I know happens, but I haven't gotten that far yet because some of the parts of the world are very hard to get to. Although I have enjoyed the fact that now you have multiple ways to get to a place in the map. Um, a good example is you can you can unlock a tower, then you shoot yourself up into the air, and then hop on, find the closest like sky island up there, and then from there you can build and maybe glide over to further distances, kind of using that as jump points. And that's been so much fun. But I mean, it was designed that way. I think that's really cool that you now have these like big jump points that you can jump, from the middle of the sky and kind of sail and glide. And which made me want to go unlock the glide suit, which I did very early on. And that's cool. I mean, it doesn't make it perfect on gliding, but it gives you a little more distance. Batteries for the builds, you want to, and also they made it so that, like flying, like the wings don't last forever. They do disappear after a while. So you can't just like build a flying airplane and fly from one point of the map to the other. They won't let you. So, yeah. Look at that. See, I haven't done that yet. I do need to get the shrine beeper because I feel like I'm not finding shrines as fast as I did in Breath of the Wild. But man, the game is just, I don't know. I don't know how to describe it. It might be me, it might be, the itch, but it's really scratching that itch for me. The level of discovery, the level of progression, the story is absolutely beautiful. I think the emotion in the story is really good this time around. But I'm a sucker. I'm a big old like soft heart when it comes to some of that stuff. And like there have been moments in the story that I've been watching that I'm just like, I feel it like emotionally. And that's because I let things do that to me. Like why I'm not going to be cynical about a game like this. I want to feel like I'm part of it. I really like envelop myself in a game like this. And that's fun for me. Oh my God. I just you saying that, I can imagine which one you're talking about, but there are many points in the game where you're just like, ooh. I just finished the water temple, right? So the water temple. So the Zora, and the entire story arc with him, with Sidon, and like the sage and all of that was just like, wow, that you felt that, like you could feel his like his like reason, and like the reason he was being the way he was and all of that. I mean, so good. That one, Dan, that one is fun because there are points in the game. So one of the things that you get, spoiler, no spoiler, right? On that one is you have to unlock or get early on before you even get to the temple. You have to get the complete Zora armor, and with the Zora armor, that allows you to swim up waterfalls again, and that gives you a whole new level of traverse in the world. And yeah, it's just really fun, and you use that power to get to the Sky Kingdom. You literally swim up a giant waterfall from the sky, so it's really cool. That's so funny because you did the two that I haven't touched. I finished the water, and I'm halfway through the Gerudo, and I just defended the town for the first time, and that's been fun. And man, that's great. But Dan, I will say this was my complaint early on, and I don't know, maybe you've gotten this. There is a level of Nintendo holdback. Nintendo kind of made it so that you don't have to have played the first game to enjoy the second game, which is very cool. But like, for example, you're Link. You're the guy that like saved this entire like civilization, this country, this entire like village. You walking up to it should automatically be like, hey, you're Link. You're the guy. You're the guy. Here, come on in. Like the fact that there's still like this, who are you, from people that have met you in the previous game? Not everyone, right? Like the main characters, the main story points recognize you, but there should be no reason why certain characters don't know you, or introduce themselves again for the first time, or act like they don't know you. Like the whole what's that guy? There's one of the characters, that the builder with the little like bandana. He's the one that builds the house for you. There's a whole submission or subplot where you have to go and free the fishing village. And the fishing village section, felt very weird because like you've been there before, you visited, and everyone treats you like it's the first time there. Like, oh, we're a village. I'm like, yeah, I know. I was here in the last game. And that building guy is like, hey, yeah, you built my house. Do you remember? Like, I gave you a ton of money. Your partner went and like started that whole town. Like that town was funded by me. Like, what is going on here? There's just this weird like uh yeah, the hot pink pants. There's just this level of like pullback where they don't uh they pull back everything just a little bit to like make it so that the discovery level, like they don't know you enough, but it shouldn't be. You're literally the savior of this entire kingdom, so everyone should know you. There should be no reason that you walk up to anybody and they don't go, "You're Link." But I get it, because you might not have played the first one, so everything is like a reintroduction. But I don't know, like there's a weirdness. I wish Nintendo had been a little more like, hey, maybe this character doesn't introduce themselves to you because you didn't go there. So let me look at your save file from the first game. Wouldn't that have been cool? Like, I know that I just would have been cool if maybe if it looked at your save file and went like, you did this. So maybe all of these like story points would treat you like it's the first time. Yeah, no, and that's right. That's what I'm saying. Like, maybe you played the first one and just went straight to Ganon. But then again, like, who does that? Like, who played that game, went straight to Ganon, beat it, and went, okay, I'm done, and put it in the box and didn't play it again? That's weird. Wouldn't that be weird? Like, that game's got so much to give. Did anyone do that? Like, I would love to meet the person that, like, popped in Breath of the Wild, walked out of the Shrine of Resurrection, got off the plateau and immediately walked to Ganon, beat the game, which would have been very hard because you don't have a lot of armor. You have to have been like pretty good and found a way durability wise to kind of last. Beat the game, didn't unlock any of the memories, and then put the game up and didn't touch it again until Tears of the Kingdom. Because that's the only scenario I can think of where none of these people would know you. You land on what is it, Hatino Village? The village where your house is at, which obviously your house is not your house. Apparently Zelda lived in your house. And yeah, man, like it's a whole like weird vibe of like, wait a minute, this entire village was like built or like funded because of the money I spent in it. Like, what's going on here? Why are you treating me like this is the first time I visited here? Like, there's no reason I should like talk to you and you don't know me. Hey, dude that dyes clothes. Yeah, remember that? Like, I funded you. I was the only one spending money. Now all of a sudden you're the center of like fashion. Like, yeah, because of me, dude. It's just weird. It's just little story points like that. I wish Nintendo had done a little better job. Not a real complaint, more of an aggravation. Yeah. Like I saw videos of people doing it. Yeah, I had all 36 of the armor that you died. Like, you did all of that. I know how this functions, dude. Like, don't treat me like it's my first time. Show me, hey, by the way, the last time you were here, you did this. By the way, here's this. I will say this. I think it's really funny. For example, you're unlocking certain bits of armor. Like, for example, I found the barbarian armor or the stealth armor or whatever. I'm like, I had that. Why don't I have it? I understand why I lost all my hearts and why I lost all the stamina and why the Master Sword is broken. I get that. That's part of the story. But everything else, did I just lose? Did I get what happened to it? Like, I don't know. It's funny. I mean, obviously, some of that stuff has to come back in a different way. You have to rediscover it and whatever. But I wish there was more of a handoff between the first game and the second game that felt a little more integrated, right? You were the savior of that whole kingdom, and this is a legitimate sequel, but there are points in the game where you're treated like this is the first of the game. Like, you didn't play the first one. And that's weird. Also, I find it interesting, like, they don't talk about the Sheikah Slate or any of the powers you had or where the shrines went. Like, all the shrines from the first game, like, where they were are no longer there. And there's no, like, hey, we leveled it, or hey, they went away, or whatever. None of it. Some of the towers aren't there. There's just little things like that I'm like, what happened here? Like, where'd all that go? I might have to watch that because I just find it's interesting. Like a good one. There's literally a shrine on the first floor of the of the uh, of the Zora in Breath of the Wild, right? Like it's right under the throne room. It's in the water, like it comes out of the water, and that one's not there anymore. So now the shrine, the closest shrine, is actually on the lowest level. You have to go up a big old stair to kind of go back up there. And no mention on where it went. No mention on what happened. There's just I would have liked to have seen maybe also all the guardians are gone, all of the guardian remnants, all of the tech that's been laying there. Everyone calls it now the Zonai tech, but where's the guardian tech? Like all of that still exists. None of it is there anymore. It's just weird that like there's certain things that they've like omitted and not referenced. I would love to like what happened to your old Sheikah slate? Does it not work anymore? Why don't I have magnesis anymore? Why don't I have certain of these abilities anymore? If nothing but an improvement. You gave me the Purapad. Why didn't you have all those abilities built into it anymore? It's just weird. It is weird. I get it. Mechanically wise, you can't be as powered up. It's a Metroid game, right? In the sense that like you're not gonna have Samus with everything that she has. Like they're gonna depower you. But story wise, this is actually the sequel. And I feel like there's just certain things that they're like not wanting to talk about or not reference, which is interesting to me. Also, I personally haven't found, maybe you have, none of the elemental weapons are there anymore, right? Like the lightning swords and all that. Now you have to like add lightning, you have to fuse lightning things to your swords and whatnot. And I get that, but all of that is gone. Yeah, like that makes sense. Like I understand that. Like here you are. I mean, you start the game with the Master Sword and like fully powered up, all of your hearts, and then you encounter Ganon, and like he just messes you up, and like you get drained completely, and that's really cool story beat. But there's certain other things that should still be there, right? Like I don't know. Right. That's true. I still haven't, no one has given me an answer to that yet. I haven't found the story on why things decayed. I mean, I know the gloom and there's a reason for it, but it is weird. Also, I really wish there's one mechanic, one thing that if anything, they should have added a blacksmith. They should have added a blacksmith for repair. They should have added a method to add durability to an item. I know that there is someone out there that you can buy sword. Like for example, if you had an item, you can buy it again from a particular guy. But I don't like that even now, while that mechanic isn't there, I still haven't found a way. They haven't added a blacksmith or some sort of like, hey, I see your sword's about to break. Let me fix that for you for a certain amount of money. What harm is that? Like just do it. Yeah. And also like there are Octoroks that you can do that. Like you can drop an item or a sword in front of an Octorok, and it'll suck it in, the rock ones, and they'll suck the item in and then spit it back out at you. And when they spit it back out, it's fixed. That's a cool trick, but they only do it once, and then they won't do it again. You have to then kill it and then come back and do it. But you have to go to that one area on the map where those specific Octoroks are, and those are the only ones that can do it. So that's weird. It sucks that they're the only ones that do it. But yeah, the all of the Korok treat you like it's the first time you've met them. Hetsu treats you like it's the first time you've met him. It's just little things like that. Yes, it makes it a full brand new weapon again. So if it's flashing, like it's gonna break or whatever, if you throw it, you go to it, it'll repair it, put it back to zero again. That's the one thing that I found. It does put it back to zero, and it'll last as long, but it'll break again. It doesn't, but you can't. You have to then go back if it's a sword that you like. Go back and find one and do it. But it's again one place in the map. Those specific aren't in the same location. It has to be the rock ones. So, yeah, that's the only way to repair it. I don't know. I don't know about that. I haven't tried that. I know, but I know that there are places to get non-decayed weapons, right? Amiibos give you some non-decayed weapons or shiny ones with the little shiny objects, and then finding them in the depths, right, from the big shadow towers or the shadow statues. Those guys tend to have completed slash non-decayed weapons, which is kind of cool. Uh, if you've got an old Android phone lying around, you can use Tagmo. That is a way to do it as well. If you've got one lying around, download the Tagmo app, load all of the amiibo files, and then you basically hit a button and it makes the NFC of the phone the amiibo. So that is a way to do it as well. It's not too clunky. You can also I have this now. I'm gonna show you. I'll put up a link. He's got let's see if he's got any in stock. It's called the Flask. Really cool object. From a guy called Bloop Labs. It's called the Flask, and I bought one a couple years back. Let's see if I can. So it's called the Flask, and it is a NFC device, an emulator, and it's really cool. It looks like this. It's expensive now. When I bought it, it was cheaper, but it takes a lot of items. 85 amiibos, tag storage, has a rechargeable battery. It's got a little screen on it, and you basically just see if I can. You basically just tap it, and it becomes that. So that's what I've got. It's a little bitty device. It's pretty cool. And load it, and which is funny because I still buy all the amiibos because I have them all, but pulling them off the shelf is annoying. But yeah, it's a way to carry all your amiibos on there, and it's rechargeable USB-C. And yeah, so when a new one comes out, you see if you can find the bin out there. You just drop it on there. You drag and drop. You plug it into your computer, and load up a URL, and it shows up, and you can drop your stuff on there. Yep, that's a cool one too. I've seen that one. It was, but yeah, $100 is a bit. Yeah, I mean they're pricey, but there are tons of ways to do it, right? I've got multiple devices that do it now because NFCs and everything. My flipper, the little hacking device, the flipper can do it as well. So that's also a way to kind of emulate your amiibos. But the cheapest way and the easiest way I have seen and found has been just if you've got an Android phone with NFC on it lying around, you could pick one up used, $20-$30, and just download the app and then transfer over the bin files and drop them in a folder, and then it works. Like it's not that hard. It really isn't as clunky as it makes out to be, for sure. But I only do that for convenience, right? Because I like the amiibos. I love the figures. They're one of my favorite like collectible things to buy. People are like, oh well, there's DLC, whatever. Yeah, but at least I'm getting a nice little figure that I can collect. It's not DLC to the sense that it's a digital item that I don't get a physical thing about. So I don't know, $12 or $15 or whatever for a piece of like really cool art to unlock something is really neat. Also, all the armor pieces that you find from the amiibos can be found in the game. If they're not locked. You don't get Wolf Link anymore. So he was on Breath of the Wild, but he's not in Tears of the Kingdom. So the Wolf Link figure doesn't do that anymore. So that sucks. That would have been cool if they allowed you to bring in Wolf Link again. Ah, man, just open them, Dan. Like at this point, like people like to, I mean, for value, I guess, but they reprinted them. A lot of the Nintendo ones, a lot of the Zelda ones are reprinted. And honestly, man, like if you like the packaging, cool. Like if you want to keep them that way, that's cool. For display purposes in the packaging isn't bad. The blister pack is really neat. The artwork is really neat. I like them personally. I like touching them. Like I've got the Guardian one, which is really neat. It's like just this big, Guardian with all the legs that move and stuff. And I think that's really neat. And I keeping it in the package felt kind of, first off, the packaging was like this freaking big, like it takes up space. The amiibo is only about this big, and they're neat to display, right? If you've got like a little display or your game room or whatever else. But yeah, it's really up to you. No hate on keeping them packaged, but for value purposes, it's silly because you want to use them at least. Uh, yeah. Yeah, and if you ordered the NFC cards, go for it. That's the way to do it, for sure. And what's neat about doing it digitally by using like a phone or whatever is you can have it so that it changes the like ID of the amiibo every time. So you scan it and then change, scan and change. And what that means is you can scan the same amiibo type over and over in one day. If you have an actual amiibo, right? So if you scan like the Link's Awakening one, Link, you scan it once, it'll say you can't scan it again today. But with a digital one, you can have it change the ID, but be the same amiibo. And so every time you scan it, it's a whole new ID. So you can keep scanning it over and over and over again. Right, because the game remembers the ID of the amiibo, but if the ID changes, like the serial number, the hardware ID or whatever of the NFC tag changes every time, but the type is still the same, then you could sit there and just like boop, boop, boop over and over again until you get, the whole armor set or whatever. The flask doesn't have that functionality. At least I don't think. Maybe it does in a new firmware update, but I haven't found a way to do it. But I've been okay with that. I basically go through, sit down. I sit down in the middle of like a village and just like beat them all. Get all my items, get all the like fabrics and whatnot, and then like go play. And then tomorrow I'll do the same thing. But it's been nice not having to like pull them all off my shelf and kind of beat them all. I think it's like 18 or 20 different Zelda amiibos now, and they all do different things. Especially the single ones, like the Link's Awakening one. That the way to get the Link's Awakening helmet or the head piece is really funny. I've seen people play with that one. The fabrics you can only use one at a time. Yes, so you can't like change it constantly. But yes, but they're all in your inventory, and as soon as you use it and you change it, it stays in your inventory. So it's yours permanently. You just have to wear one right now. So right now, I think I've got the Twilight one on my glider, but there's some really cool ones, which I've seen. The Twilight one's neat because it's all black and it's got like the rings of the Twilight princess, and it glows in the dark. So when you're in the depths and kind of gliding, it glows. It's bright white. So that's pretty neat. Really? I don't know. Did they use away? I thought they didn't go away. I might have to try that. I haven't changed it out after once or twice. Maybe I didn't notice when I changed the one. Maybe you have to get it again. That's weird. There's a bunch of fabrics. There's more than 6 for sure. Maybe 6 on amiibos, but there's more in the game. Like there's one per village, so that the fabric is like the Gerudo fabric. Like she gives it to you. It's like, oh, here's something. It's here's the Zora fabric from, and essentially you can turn the glider into like Zora style or whatever. So that's pretty neat. But I didn't know if you use it once, it goes away. I thought the fabric was yours because there's not a place. I haven't found a place that you can buy fabric. So how would you get that one back? Because one of them, like the Zora one, is unlocked in a quest. Like you get it after you do something, and it's given to you as a reward. So I'm not sure how. Also remember, the amiibos, when you scan them, they don't always give you the same thing, right? So like they might give you a fabric, but that same amiibo is going to give you, like the Link's Awakening one is going to give you all of the awakening parts. You just have to do it more than once, and you can only do it once a day. Yeah, man. Let me know. I haven't tried it. Maybe I'll try it tonight and sit down and see what happens if I use a fabric. And if I change my fabric, does it come back in my inventory? I don't think it goes away. That would be weird because again, I don't know how you would unlock it again. Some of those items are unlocked only in quest form. They're key items. They're in your key item inventory. So I don't know. But yeah, man, that game is so good. I can't reemphasize how good that game has been. I was expecting it to be good because it's a Zelda game, right? Like I can't think of a bad Zelda game. Even Zelda 2, I will fight anyone and say that it's a good game. But this one is leaps and bounds fun to me. it scratches. And people can say that they want the old formula back, but you know what? I don't know about you, but the last Zelda game that had a formula, the uh, Skyward, yeah, man, and just played release day, played all day. Yeah, I believe you, and it felt so good. You know, it's weird being like this age and like sitting there and playing a game this long. I don't usually get to do that, but I was up late, like 4:30 in the morning on one night, just like playing because it just felt good. Mm. But yeah, I can't I really can't think of a game that's done this in a while, and that speaks bounds to the franchise. But Skyward Sword was the last like Zelda game that was like mission, like dungeon, dungeon, move on. And that one was a little heavy-handed on the tutorial, right? Like everything was a tutorial, just dragged and dragged and dragged. And then I remember the part of the game that just made me want to just like scream when I had to do the tad tones. I don't know if you played Skyward Sword, where you had to unlock all the musical notes. So you have to like swim and get them all. But the way the motion control was all wonky and weird, and you had to do it within a time frame. It was maddening, and I am so glad that you know, they went back and were like, this is something that people don't like. And so Breath of the Wild was just like, drop your tools, go at it. And some people didn't like that, right? They like that progression and unlocking in the progression. And that's fine. That's totally a fair assumption. But there is definitely something that I like, that I'm not being treated like I don't know what a Zelda game is or how Zelda games work. For sure. Man. What else has anyone been playing? Has anyone been playing anything else on anything? I mean, again, Breath of the Wild has consumed my life for the past like 2 weeks or so, but news wise, I mean, we've got summer's coming up. We've got the summer game fest is coming up soon. Oh, we had the Spider-Man 2 trailer for PS5 finally get released. Game looks great. I'll dust off my PS5 and play that. Oh man, Dragon Quest 11. That is a time sink, sir. Finish Tears of the Kingdom before you start playing that. But yes, play it in a few months. That is a game that is going to devour you for hours. You got Definitive Edition on Switch. That's a good version of it, for sure. We get Final Fantasy 16 in a couple weeks, which is exciting. I haven't read too much on it, but from my understanding, it's kind of coming back to the old style a little bit, which might be cool because I really haven't gelled with any of the new style Final Fantasies. Look at that. My dog's barking. They're like, you've been out here for too long. I played the demo, so I got this 15-hour taste. Holy shit. I forgot that demo was pretty deep. Ladies, hey. Yeah. Oh man, 2 hours in. He's 2 hours into the stream. I think I'm gonna end it at 2. Folks, thank you so much. If anyone that's still watching, I see that there's a few people still in chat. Thank you so much for watching. We'll be back next week with a normal episode, 1 hour, talk about the news, talk about whatever. We'll have Pedro here to entertain you. I won't be as long-winded about Tears of the Kingdom, or I will, because I've been trying to sell him on it. But Street Fighter 6 is coming out, so I'll probably be talking about that. I will probably be doing a stream on Street Fighter 6 soon. I am in the middle of a move, quote unquote. So exciting times. More arcade things are going to be filmed. Maybe the new game room build is going to be filmed. So I will keep everyone updated on that. It is a exciting time. It's the reason why I haven't been on for a couple weeks with my mom's health, me traveling, work, and then now this new move scenario. But life will get back to normality soon. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for enjoying watching me smoke the cigar for 2 hours and still not finish it, because that's how cigars work, if you didn't know. I lit it right when we started, and it's still not done. but I am on a little more scotch. So cheers. Have a good rest of the week. Thank you for joining me, everyone. Thank you for hopping on the stream. I appreciate everyone that subscribes. Thank you. I've got to make sure that I play my favorite clip that I have saved every time because it makes me happy. Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? I cannot find you. Ah, yes. Here we go.
I'm escaping to the one place that hasn't been corrupted by capitalism. Space!
Thank you so much, everyone. Have a good night. Take care. Be kind. Another episode in the can.